G'day everybody and welcome to another episode of the AskTomTech show. My name is Tom Freer and this week we're going to talk about Microsoft Azure. So a question we get asked a lot about is, what is Microsoft Azure? Well, bluntly and basically, Microsoft Azure is the Microsoft cloud environment. So this is a cloud hosted system that provides infrastructure and services to businesses and organizations. So if we could roll back a little bit further and ask that question of what is the cloud? Effectively, the way we describe it is it's a bunch of computers and systems and software that is running outside of your network and it's managed by someone else. So in this instance, Microsoft have named their cloud Microsoft Azure. Now that'll be similar to the likes of Amazon AWS, the Google Cloud, IBM have one, and there's a whole host of different providers that have cloud infrastructure and services. But what we wanted to focus on today is the specifics around Microsoft Azure. It is such a comprehensive platform, it can get a little bit overwhelming as to what can be used and where it can be used. So I wanted to touch on some of the common things that we're doing for clients and how they're getting the benefit out of that cloud infrastructure, specifically around that Microsoft space. So if we look at Microsoft Azure and what we can do with it, we can host Windows servers up there. We can do our backups into the cloud from there for your Windows servers and your files and your data. You can host your websites. You can create databases and host applications and services like that. And there's a whole development platform wrapped around it as well. So software developers can build applications and systems and host them in Azure. So these might be web-based applications, complex websites, e-commerce sites, CRM systems, all different manner of services and applications can be built and designed within Azure. But the way we're using it for our clients is around looking at what they're doing with their specific IT and their systems and infrastructure. So that's their backup functions, their Windows server operations. It might be their identity management, so where their users log into and authenticate. We've got then add-ons and functions around multi-factor authentication and password management and security monitoring and all sorts of different things like this. So, and that's where we're really focused on with our clients is leveraging that Microsoft ecosystem to allow them to extend what they're doing on premise now. So let's run through a couple of examples. So you may have a backup system that's running. So you might have local storage for your backup. It might actually be still going to tape, or you might be using another cloud provider to do backup too. But what we can actually do is start to consolidate a number of these services within Microsoft Azure. It's quite cost effective in a lot of configurations because they've got infinite storage, well not infinite storage, but they've got capacity to grow and scale these things at a very, very large scale. It is designed to be an enterprise. They've got, I think now, in excess of 52 locations around the world of where they're storing and managing this infrastructure in. But in Australia, there's 4 key areas, 4 locations, Sydney, Melbourne, and then we've actually got some secure locations in Canberra, which are mainly for federal government and things like that. But predominantly, we're setting up systems in Sydney and Melbourne using this Microsoft Azure platform. Now, if we go back to our backup example, within the Azure platform, we've got a full suite of backup systems. We can back up individual files and folders on a single server and stream them up to the cloud. We can then move to doing full server image backups, both locally and pushing that off to the cloud as well. So it gives you a lot of DR capability. We have site recovery functions where we can replicate your servers, both your Azure hosted servers or even your on-site servers can be replicated to the cloud. So in the event that you have a major outage or a disaster, you can actually spin these back up and be running again in a much shorter period of time than having to buy new hardware and restore it and get it back up and running. So that's just one component of the Azure cloud. We're doing a lot of what we call hybrid style deployments where we're starting to transition clients across from their legacy systems and servers. They might be starting to get to that age, 3, 4, 5 years old, And it's that time to start looking at what they're doing and are they actually needed to be on site. We've got much improved communications and networking services now, so speed isn't so much of an issue if we've got the right links in place. It can be depending on the app, but we're able to spin up a server and host it in Microsoft Azure in the cloud, and it's a Windows server like you would have on site now. People can still access it in a similar way with the right networking infrastructure in place, and they can still look and see it as if they're on their PC connected to a map drive. So the change impact to users can be minimal, but the benefits that are available of hosting in that cloud environment are significant, which is why the cloud has become such a prevalent system and platform around there, be it Microsoft or other, doesn't matter. It's what it can provide. So if we look at what it can provide from a availability and an online perspective, you're going to get much higher levels of availability from a cloud-based system, the right cloud-based system, than you would from an on-premise system. Because by design, you might have one server, or even if you have 2 or 3 virtual servers and some storage locally, you'll get some redundancy in there. But if you look at it from a Microsoft perspective, they've got hundreds of servers that your infrastructure runs on, and your storage and all those sorts of things. That's then also has the instant ability to replicate to a completely new and different site. So we can replicate systems from Sydney to Melbourne. So you can start to get an idea of the capability that's there out of the box for you. So we can design much highly available systems using the Azure platform, and not necessarily incur that significant upfront investment in hardware and infrastructure and licensing and things like that. That's all part of that monthly fee, a monthly cloud fee. That's sort of where we're looking and taking organizations to from that Microsoft Azure platform. As I say, there is a host of services and functions in there. And as that ecosystem is growing, we're seeing more features coming, and we're seeing more tie-in to other traditional systems that a lot of our clients are using, and that you're probably using as well, such as Office 365. So that's a really good example in that Office 365 is effectively built on the Microsoft Azure Cloud platform. So when you set up an Office 365 environment, by default, you actually in the background are getting access and systems set up in that Azure environment. So you're getting that user authentication layer. You're then able to extend that and get some additional features, such as you can start managing passwords and multi-factor authentication, both on site and on the cloud. You can then extend that to improve security around not only your Office 365 piece, but also the security of your systems on site that you have as well. So the Microsoft Azure Cloud is as a platform is actually supporting all these new technologies that we're seeing from Office 365 and Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, and all these different security style products are all built around that Azure platform. So you can start to leverage those in different areas of your business, not just in the Office 365 space, but on your servers and on your desktops, and start to leverage and play with these tools that are going to add additional layers of protection for your systems and your users. Again, just there out of the box. Yeah, there are licensing fees associated with it, and there is going to be some implementation, but we're not having to redesign and look at multiple vendors and multiple different systems and try and get these things to talk together. From that Microsoft space, from the desktop now to the server, to the network, to the cloud, we can actually have an end-to-end platform and start to have end-to-end visibility over what's going on in your network, how your systems are working and how they're using. And that's all built around that Microsoft Azure platform. So yeah, it's quite a complex beast, and there's a lot in there that can be done, but it's just about picking the right tools that you need at that point in time. You don't have to go all in and move everything to the cloud to start taking advantage of the cloud systems that are there. And that's sort of the benefit and the real win that businesses can get by just taking those simple steps, using the things that they need at that point in time, but knowing that you've got this whole platform sitting behind it that you can leverage when you need it. You don't need to move all your servers up to the cloud to start taking advantage of the cloud. And that's something really key that Microsoft have spent a lot in, and the fact that Microsoft have that footprint from the desktop and to the server, they're able to help customers leverage that move to the cloud more seamlessly than others. So look, that's what Microsoft Azure is. In a nutshell, Microsoft Azure is the Microsoft Cloud Platform. You'll hear it splattered around, and you'll start seeing more and more of it. You'll start to see tie-in with the Microsoft 365 suite, the Office 365 suite, the Azure security components are all starting to build and leverage the components of one another. So yeah, Microsoft Azure, that's your move to the cloud. So if you've got any questions about Microsoft Azure or anything really, we'd love to hear from you. Comment below and we'll get back to you and answer those questions for you next time.